We ready? Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Art Ryan. I'm co-chairman of Achieve and I'm chairman of Prudential. If we were to base our assessment on the activities and I would say the excitement that's been generated so far, our summit has been a success. First, improving high schools is an action item on the agenda of every governor. We've begun new partnerships between governors, educators, and business leaders to transform our high schools. Importantly, we've identified very clear action steps in which to go forward. First, align curriculum and assessments to higher graduation standards and help all students achieve them. Focus our attention on ensuring that all schools have the tools, the educators, and the leaders they need to raise the bar of student performance and hold them to those higher expectations. Create a system that is seamless throughout the education experience of our children. The business community now understands that we have some more work to do as well. We need to take the message and create the sense of urgency in our communities, to our policymakers, to parents, and to our employees about what we have learned during the course of this summit. We've got to paint a clearer picture to the educators on what is required when our children leave the high school to enter the workplace or enter the college of their choice. Importantly, we've made the commitment that we will put our time, our expertise, and our political capital to help governors craft new policies, to help teachers in the classroom, and to help principals who are willing to go the extra step so that our children achieve what they should. But we're not going to judge the success of this summit based on what we've accomplished over the last 2 days, notwithstanding the success of the 2 days. We'll determine whether we've been successful when we get back into our own communities, when we see improvements, when we see results. Importantly, we've defined the whole summit and all of the action agenda around outcomes, not simply process, but outcomes. So in many ways, the summit is just a beginning. We know that difficult work lies ahead, but we believe that all of the constituencies necessary to have success do have agreement. Just as the National Governors Association and Achieve came together to sponsor this summit, we anticipate very close working relationship going forward in order to see the results of the summit as well. I'm also pleased to say that this summit has produced a new collaboration, and I'd like to turn it over to Governor Bob Taft, who will describe a new network of collaboration around our country. Governor?
Thanks, Art. Thank you and good afternoon. This weekend we've had an exciting and productive discussion about ways to improve the nation's high schools. We agreed on the urgency of our current situation and on the dangers of leaving so many young people unprepared for college and unready for work. Today, a group of states will begin to reshape an American institution that has far outlasted its effectiveness. I'm pleased to announce the establishment of the Action Network of the American Diploma Project. 13 states have already committed to being partners in this very important network that will spearhead efforts to align standards, assessments, curriculum, and accountability with the demands of post-secondary education and work. The states included so far are Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Texas. More than 5 million American students each year, 35% of public school students nationwide, will be expected to meet higher requirements under this landmark initiative. This is the biggest step states can take to restore the value of the high school diploma. You may recall that the American Diploma Project report was published about 1 year ago. It identified the critical English and math skills that students need to master in order to succeed after high school, and it sets the bar we are all trying to attain. By signing on to this network, states commit themselves to taking 4 specific steps over the next year. First, they will set in motion plans to raise their high school standards to the level of what's actually required to succeed at college or in the workforce. Second, these states will assess students' progress towards these high-level standards, whether a student is aiming at college or at work. Third, these states have agreed to require all students to take a college and work prep curriculum that prepares them to meet the higher standards. And fourth, these states have agreed to hold high schools accountable for graduating students who are college ready and hold colleges and universities accountable for moving students through to their degrees. Finally, as part of the Action Network, each state will build a broad coalition of the key supporters needed to sustain progress in each state. This includes the governor, the legislature, state school superintendent, state higher education leaders, and business leaders. It will take all these influential forces working together with educators, parents, and communities to make systemic change a reality. What's next? Over the next few months, each state will develop a very specific plan to close the preparation gap, along with a timetable for addressing measurable goals. Accomplishing these goals will not be easy. It will require tough choices, but these governors are willing to put their political capital on the line to make it happen. This is the 5th National Education Summit, but the first time that a group of states have come together to commit to specific, measurable action steps and hold each other accountable for accomplishing them. Thank you. At this time, I would like to turn the podium over to Governor Mark Warner, our summit co-chair.
Thank you, Robert. And let me compliment you and Art and all of the folks from Achieve for your willingness to co-sponsor this very important summit, and compliments on the next step on the American Diploma Project. Virginia is one of the states that's looking at potentially joining this effort as well. We are already in the process with our State Board of Education in re-examining how we can upgrade our curriculum. And let me assure you that I'm taking back home, as much as we've been already doing on high school, some of the lessons that I've personally learned at the last 2 days. I also want to thank my partner in everything I've done at National Governors Association, Mike Huckabee, who's somehow acting shy and retiring and standing in the back of the room today. But Mike is somebody who is passionate about education as well. He's the current chairman of the Education Commission of the States, and has been a great, great partner, and I thank you for that, Mike. Again, I made mention, I think yesterday when we started, that ECS is participating, the Hunt Institute, the Business Roundtable I omitted yesterday, and my mistake, the Business Roundtable helps bring the nation's major businesses to the table, and we've seen Art and Carrie and others involved. Very, very important that we recognize that there's no single institution that can affect all these changes. Not the individual school division, not the governor alone, not the legislature alone. It takes a host of folks focusing attention, and Art's commitment and the business community's commitment is critically important. I hope those of you who have stayed with us for the last 2 days, have seen the energy. I felt very much yesterday when Bill Gates made a pretty powerful indictment of what's wrong with American high schools. That if we were going to really take on this issue, the right people were in the room. And what I've seen, and you always worry a little bit as you get into breakout sessions, whether that energy is going to be sustained. But I think from yesterday afternoon and then 2 very productive sessions this morning, that energy and exchange of ideas and the key that is, whether it's Bob's announcement or announcement I'm going to be making in a moment, this is all about moving to actionable, measurable, achievable changes in our high schools. And perhaps the most important session of the whole 2 days is actually going on right now in the room next door, when every state is crowded around a very tiny table in our continuing efforts to keep our budgets low at NGA and Achieve, where they can't help but almost eat off of each other's plates, and with the governor, with their team who's been here, and anybody else that's been a participant from their respective states, where governors are leading individual discussions about how they're going to move forward on this agenda when they get home. Why are we doing it? Well, we've all seen these signs up here, and if there's any time you forget why, you only need to look at the faces of these kids and hear the stories we've heard in all of the breakout sessions, that students are ready to aspire to greater heights if we challenge them. Students are ready to and understand they've got to be better prepared, whether it's for college or the workforce. But we've got to make sure that we've got that rigorous curriculum. We've got to make sure that we offer them options like early college in high school, options to earn an industry certification if you're going to the workforce, and have in place for those students who need the extra help, the meaningful remediation, so that we will allow every student to graduate ready to go to college or ready to go into the workforce. Now, to make sure, again, similar to what Bob and Art have already said, to make sure that this agenda doesn't end in a few hours when the summit ends, National Governors Association is very pleased to announce a major initiative that will continue long after this summit has ended and will be designed to help states move forward on the reform agendas that they're putting forward in the next room. We have created a distinguished partnership with a number of distinguished foundations. And let me again say, as Tom, I don't think you will mind me saying, trying to get foundations again to partner together is sometimes a challenge. And that may be the understatement of the whole conference. But we have put together, anchored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, a group of foundations who are committed to working to make sure that the state's action agendas move forward. This consortium will fund a $42 million grant program to help ensure that the work during the National Summit on High Schools translates into action in individual states. In addition to the very generous support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the other participants include the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, the Carnegie Corporation, the Wallace Foundation, the Prudential Foundation, and the State Farm Foundation. And we're also exploring a broader partnership with additional foundations who aren't quite used to moving as quickly, but they will include, hopefully, the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, Bell South Foundation, Lumina Foundation, and GE Foundation. The value of having this foundation support is really threefold. First, the resources are great. But in addition to the resources comes the validation of these nationally and internationally recognized foundations saying to governors who are taking the plunge on education reform that, hey, this makes sense. If you've got to convince a leery legislature or a reluctant school board or a community that these reforms make sense to improve the education of the kids or to make sure that this is going to grow our respective economies, the brand value of all these foundations is tremendous. On top of that, these foundations, who have already been working in states across the country, bring expertise to the table as well. This really is an unprecedented collaboration between state government and the philanthropic community. This truly represents, I believe, the best of the whole public-private partnership approach. We use that term a lot. This is the real deal. In 45 days, the National Governors Association will issue an RFP. All states, commonwealths, and territories will be eligible to apply for a grant. Grant recipients will be announced at the NGA annual meeting, which is taking place in Des Moines in July. The RFP will create a menu of funding opportunities organized around the main objective of improving high school achievement and college readiness for all students. It gives states opportunities for matching potential support with different policy strategies they want to pursue. And it also gives the foundations the ability to support state efforts to improve high schools while also remaining true to each individual's foundation's mission and principles. There's a lot of people to thank. I'm not going to go through all that right now, but before I bring up Tom, I do want to make sure that all of you stay, because the one part of this conversation and dialogue that we have not heard from is our partners at the federal level. And the last session is going to include our new Secretary of Education, Margaret Spellings, and a series of major leaders from the Hill, from both parties, because there are some wonderful opportunities actually to align federal education legislation, from No Child Left Behind, the Perkins Act, the Higher Ed Act, in the coming year. And as we talk about high school alignment, wouldn't it be great if federal education policy actually aligned, starting with Head Start and all the way up through higher ed, and had policies and goals and funding streams that did that? And David Gergen, after that, will lead us once again in a concluding session to try to, in his own special style, help us wrap up. So much more to come, but let me now turn the podium over to the person who has been, along with Stephanie, the driving force as we've tried to harness the energy of the foundation community to be part of this effort, someone who has been working for a number of years at improving the quality of American high schools, and particularly on the redesign of American high schools. It's my great pleasure to introduce Tom Vander Ark, the Executive Director of the Education Foundation for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Tom?
Well, on behalf of Michael and Susan Dell and Bill and Melinda Gates, we want to say thank you. We're so impressed with what's happened this weekend. I want to thank Achieve and NGA. Let me underscore what just happened. The two announcements are really, they're quite extraordinary. The fact that 13 states have recently come together to form an alliance to create college-ready curriculum, standards, assessment, and accountability system is really an extraordinary thing. And we look forward to continue our support of Achieve and that effort. I also want to underscore Governor Warner's leadership. It's his efforts in Virginia that created a set of successes, that created the enthusiasm that he's brought to his NGA initiative. And because of his leadership, many foundations have come together to support the work that states are going to begin doing. What you'll see is 13, and I'm sure it'll soon be 15 or 16 states working on the American Diploma Project. I would anticipate many states are going to pick up items from the governor's action agenda, and will advance those. And both of these organizations, NGA and Achieve, are going to continue to work very closely together with what I suspect will be more than half of the states in the country. And that is just an extraordinary amount of momentum. I don't think of the other 4 summits that we've had that sense of action and sense of momentum coming out of a summit. And we're very excited about being able to provide a small piece of support. So it's been a very encouraging weekend. I also want to thank Governor Huckabee for his leadership at NGA and ECS. Governor Taft, we appreciate your leadership at Achieve, and especially for making this your agenda at NGA. We really appreciate Governor Warner's leadership.